You grew up in Elturel, the proud sister city to Baldur's Gate. You were never the prettiest, never the funniest, or the best singer. Always second place, you watched the man you loved fall for another. You stood there while the innkeeper chose some wretch from out of town to play in his tavern over you. Even your parents always loved your brother more. Why was your life like this? It's hard to imagine from the outside looking in. You always put on a brave face and made it seem like everything is alright. Second best isn't last, after all. But inside you hated it. Everything you wanted just out of reach. This life was hell. Until that's where you truly were. The companion, a giant glowing second sun that had protected Elturel for 50 years, suddenly turned pitch black of night. Buildings crashed and fell around you. The whole city quaked and was ripped in an instant from the earth and transported into the hells. The city was in chaos, but you just walked into the streets and laughed. Of course this was your fate. Horrors besieged the city at every turn. You saw death and destruction, but you would not die here. You would have everything you ever dreamed of. You saw this as your chance. You ran and ran until you could no longer breathe from exhaustion, and that was when you saw him, a proud and regal devil, and you fell on your knees before him. Please, grant me the artistry of the greatest bards. Make me a beacon of adoration, embraced by all who lays eyes upon me, shielded from the sting of rejection's touch. Please, grant me unwavering confidence to channel my emotions into decisive action. You wish a pact with me, little mouse? How amusing it is to witness your yearnings. I am not looking for more pets. Still, you show ambition, and I am prepared to indulge you. You will be the most celebrated bard. All shall be drawn to you, unable to resist your charm. Yet, as with all things, my gifts come at a price. Be wary, for your heart's desires may transform into insatiable appetites. And remember, little mouse, that pacts with devils seldom unfold as you expect. But if you dare to dance on the edge of your desires, though, the power you seek shall be yours. It did not take long until the city was mysteriously returned from the hells to its rightful place. The city, though, would never be the same. You learnt quickly to defend yourself, with your charm, music, and when even that failed you, your blade. With the chaos past, prejudice against the hell-spawned tieflings reigned supreme, and the tieflings of Elturel were entirely exiled before long. It was a long road to Baldur's Gate, but you learned quickly to control your new powers. The dreams, though, dark dreams, they were another thing entirely. You reached the city after 11 days on the road. You remember making your way to the closest rooftop, laughing with joy as you climbed the stairs. You did not find what you expected. Shouting, crashing, and then nothing. You awoke to a mind flayer. Hello everyone, my name is Seb and that was a long one. Lots of requests for this one, so it's been in the works for a while. Quick disclaimer, like always, this is a concept first and optimized second style build, building around a concept rather than the best possible damage. This build looks like should be a heap of fun to play though, and I hope you enjoy it. So, one of my viewers, Fen1539, contributed a few great ideas for how to build out this character's backstory, and so thank you for your ideas. And finally, as you may have noticed, I did leave space in this character's backstory for a Dark Urge playthrough. I did consider making this a Dark Urge build, however, the Dark Urge makes it very difficult to go in with a preconceived backstory. So If you would like to play this as a Dark Urge, go for it. I'll be setting this character up like any other though. So disclaimer's done. Let's get into the build level by level. So, character creation. For our race, we are going Tiefling, and in particular, Zariel Tiefling. And they gain abilities on level 1, 3, and 5. We'll go over those abilities a bit more, but they are Thaumaturgy on level 1, Searing Smite on level 3, and Branding Smite on level 5. Next for our class, we are beginning as Warlock, having just gained the gifts of our patron. So we learned a lot on our return from hell. With our newfound gifts, I feel we can talk almost anyone into anything that we want. So I like to think that someone briefly trained us with a rapier in Elturel and then again on the road to Baldur's Gate. However, I see this character as not truly a combatant, at least not yet. For the vast majority of this character's interactions, they will always take the diplomatic route first. If that fails, well, fury follows. You ask for the powers of music, confidence, and charm. So your primary spellcasting focus will not be on offensive magic. It will be on utility and deception. So with that explained, we will gain 2 cantrips on level 1. And as you can probably guess, we are taking the Friends cantrip, giving us advantage on charisma checks against non-hostile creatures, and of course, Eldritch Blast. Next, we get our subclass, and our patron is a devil from the Hells, so we are of course going Fiend. This subclass gives us the Dark One's Blessing feature, giving us temporary hit points when we kill an enemy. This scales with us as we level, being our charisma modifier plus our warlock levels in temporary hit points. Next, we gain 2 level 1 spells, and we are taking Charm Person and Command. Charm Person is similar to Friends, however there are 2 key differences. Charm Person costs a spell slot, and it can be used on enemies. So, Friends on allies, since it's free, and Charm Person on enemies if you don't want to kill them. Next, Command. We really make use of our lure and charm here, convincing people to do our bidding. We are second best no longer. Finally, for our background, we are effectively an urchin at this point in our lives, orphaned even as far as we know. So this background gives us sleight of hand and stealth proficiencies. As for ability scores, we are going to dump strength, so 8 there, 15 in dexterity for 16, giving us better stealth and sleight of hand rolls, saving throws for spells, AC, and initiative, so that's important, 14 in constitution to stay alive, 10 for int and wisdom, so we don't get any negative rolls there, and of course 14 in charisma plus 2 for 16, being the party face and a charisma based spellcaster. For our skill proficiencies, we are taking deception, of course, and investigation. And that's it for level 1. So Eldritch Blast your way off the ship and on to level 2. For level 2, we are off the ship now and making our way through the wilderness. There's no better time to learn than in the thick of combat, and in unavoidable situations you learn to twist the flow of the weave to affect your enemies and make them weaker and more vulnerable. As on level 2, we are taking Hex, granting us an additional 1d6 on attacks made against a target, and disadvantage on a saving throw of our choice. Second, on level 2, we gain 2 Eldritch Invocations, as we have found a way to make our Eldritch Blast more potent with Agonizing Blast, adding our Charisma modifier to our damage, and the ability to change our face to resemble another, and we are taking the Mask of Many Faces. Level 3, and maybe we've been visited by our patron at this point, and they're pleased with our survival. The tadpole in our eye also presents an opportunity for them. Maybe they comment on how the pact magic is rejecting the tadpole, hence how the weave has manifested on your face. I think you're growing frustrated at this point that your musical prowess has not improved. This wasn't part of the bargain. However, the devil just chuckles. All in time, little mouse. However, he does wish to improve your chances of survival as a new and important pawn on his board. You gain a Pact boon at level 3, and we are taking Pact of the Blade. Now, this isn't essential to make the build function, but it is pretty important, as it lets you summon or bind a weapon to become your Pact weapon, using your spellcasting ability, Charisma in this case, for attack and damage rolls. So, if you didn't have one already, summon in a rapier now, as this will be your Pact weapon. We also gain a second Tiefling ability on this level, Searing Smite, which adds an additional 2d6 fire damage to an attack once per long rest. This might be handy in a pinch. Finally, we get our first level 2 spell, and there are a few here to go over, but we'll look at those shortly. For now, we are grabbing either Misty Step for some mobility. There are a few items to grant this though. If you have one, pick up Hold Person, as this can be really potent, incapacitating a humanoid. Attacks on targets made within 3 meters of an incapacitated target are automatic critical hits. Perfect, so on level 4, we have found ourselves starting to use the shadows more and more to our advantage, getting the drop on potential enemies or sneaking past them entirely, as we are taking a single level in Rogue here. Now, what the hell? Why Rogue? Good question. We are here for 2 reasons. Firstly, we want to gain expertise in sleight of hand and deception, and we also get to choose another proficiency, which is going to be performance for us. Secondly, we gain sneak attack, which allows us to add a d6 to one of our melee attacks each turn, which is slowly starting to become our more primary means of damage. Level 5 then, and vocally we are still struggling. However, you find an old lyre on one of your adventures, and you remember back to something your mother once told you. A lyre's 7 strings represent the 7 forms of love. This sticks with you for some reason, and as you pick up the instrument, you feel a magical resonance. Your fingers move of their own accord, and you just play. You play and keep playing. It's like nothing you have ever done before. You burst out laughing as your fingers move as if they were born for this, as we take our first level in Bard. So, as a Bard, of course, we gain Bardic Inspiration. Your magic fuels performances, leaving your party in absolute awe, and sometimes even inspired to reach greater heights, giving them a d6 to spend on an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. Don't forget to switch this guy to Ask in the reactions window. It will only appear when a character is inspired though, so if it's missing, that's why. Secondly, as a Bard we gain 2 cantrips, and we are of course taking Vicious Mockery, dealing 2d4 in psychic damage and giving a creature disadvantage on its next attack roll. The other choice is up to you, however, I would probably make a choice between Blade Ward and True Strike. Next we get 4 more level 1 spells, and there aren't too many that fit too well here, so take what you like. However, I will mention the ones that I'm taking, which are Bane, giving 3 enemies a negative 1d4 penalty on attack rolls and saving throws. Sleep could be good and better if you upcast it. This spell can't miss, so it's great for CC as long as your enemies fall under the hit point cap for the spell. Next, Featherfall, just for the utility, and finally I would choose between Tasha's Hideous Laughter and Dissonant Whispers. The former requires concentration, but causes the prone status effect, giving you a much easier time hitting your target. The latter deals 3d6 psychic damage and frightens a creature for 2 turns. Both great, but I would probably only take one of them. We also get an instrument, of course, as a Bard, and we are taking the lyre as our instrument of choice. Finally, we get 1 more proficiency, and I really like Insight here. You are a compulsive liar and cheat yourself. Of course, you can detect someone else doing the same. Finally, on level 5, we gain the last of your Tiefling racial abilities, and that is Branding Smite, giving you the option to add a bit of radiant damage to an attack once per day and preventing the target from going invisible. On to level 6, and we are a level 2 Bard, getting another level 1 spell slot and spell, pick something you like. We also get the Jack of all trades feature. adding half of our proficiency bonus, rounded down, to our ability checks for skills that we are not proficient in. We are now getting bonuses to every skill check, and we have a lot of proficiencies. Finally, we get Song of Rest, essentially giving us a third short rest between long rests. Since our Warlock spell slots come back on a short rest, and they are level 2 spell slots, this is great for us, meaning we can upcast all our spells more often. Okay, so halftime here before we get to the best part of the build. I am playing this character as a bit of a skill monkey, meaning they can kind of take care of everything themselves, hence the level in Rogue. We really needed those extra proficiencies though, and it will get even better next level. However, some of you may be disappointed this is not a high damage dealing build. Watch through to the end though, or skip to the optimization section where I'll cover that in a bit more detail. You are a selfish and ambitious character, so don't forget that while playing. You are looking after yourself. Your heart may go out to a certain group of tiefling refugees, but beyond that, it's fair game. This might mean losing a few companions, and I'll leave it to you whether you teeter on the edge of neutral or you fall into the evil alignment. Just remember that you chose a pact with the devil for power and ambition. Next, we don't actually get to see our patron at any point, so you might need to headcanon your interactions a little bit. I feel they would play a role in looking after their new favorite pet. Finally, be careful not to get caught in the trap of just standing back and spamming Eldritch Blast. It is very potent, but it's not probably the best way to play this character, especially going forward from level 7 onwards. So, some gear options. A +1 rapier shouldn't be too hard to come by. I believe you can buy one in the Druid's Grove if you can't find one elsewhere. As for armor, so the same as my other melee builds, the Gloves of Power, Gloves of Growling Underdog are great. Boots of Striding, Disintegrating Nightwalkers, maybe even Drow's Studded Leather Armor, Haste Helm, and Cloak of Protection. However, unlike those builds, Boots of Brilliance, Moondrop Pendant, Shifting Corpus Ring, and Boots of Striding are all fantastic options. Okay, back to the build. So level 7, and I feel like as your musical talents have really started to come forth, you start to notice your dreams growing darker. Almost as a side effect, you start seeing these 3 figures, 2 men and a woman, more and more, and the acts they are performing are dark and twisted. You ask your patron about your dreams and he is the cause. He has created a connection between the tadpole in your head and the tadpole of the other so-called true souls. The dreams you are seeing are through their eyes. He has tasked you to choose one and take their place. This is your first glimpse as to the price of the pact. However, your patron offers more power to complete this task, this time with the blade, as you take your Bard subclass in College of Swords. Now there is a lot to go over here. Firstly, we gain Bard 3, and so we gain another level 1 spell slot and 2 level 2 spell slots. We also gain expertise in 2 more skills. Choose the ones you like here, however I am taking Stealth and Insight. Next, we get a single level 2 spell, and I don't love a lot of our options here. I don't mind Crown of Madness, charming our enemies into fighting amongst themselves. Maybe Hold Person if you don't already have it. Blindness, maybe. There is of course Heat Metal and Cloud of Daggers, probably the best defensive options here. However, careful of the trap I mentioned earlier though. Next, as a College of Swords Bard, we gain access to Flourishes. These cost our Bardic Inspiration charges now, adding a d6 to the damage and giving us certain effects. Slashing Flourish cleaves, hitting 2 targets. Defensive Flourish increases our AC by 4 for a turn if we hit, and Mobile Flourish knocks our target back 6 meters, allowing us to teleport to them after if we choose to, and the target's still alive. We will be making use of all of these when the need arises. We also gain a fighting style on this level, and we are taking Dueling. This grants us an additional 2 damage if we are only wielding a single one-handed weapon, which is perfect for a rapier. I will mention here that this does work if you are holding a shield. However, personally I think that looks ridiculous and you are no longer a lithe, dexterous fighter. We also gain access to medium armor, so if you are struggling in the front lines, you can now increase your AC a bit this way instead of going the shield route. Level 8, and we are now a level 4 bard, gaining another level 2 spell slot. So pick something you like again, and we get our first feat. Now personally, I think it's really important to bump our charisma here, bringing it to a +4. However, if you would like to opt for a feat here are my suggestions. Skilled gives you 3 more proficiencies. If there were any checks that you were struggling with in your group, this is the answer to that. Savage Attacker allows you to reroll your damage rolls and take the higher one. Defensive Duelist lets you use your reaction to increase your AC by your proficiency bonus, which is a +3 now and +4 next level onwards. Finally, Mobile, which increases your movement speed, lets you avoid difficult terrain, lets you move without provoking opportunity attacks if you attacked first on your turn. So take your pick, but I'll be taking the ability score improvement. So on level 9, we get improved Bardic Inspiration, increasing our inspiration die to a D8. We also get Font of Inspiration, allowing our charges to come back on a short rest now, which is fantastic, giving us another resource returning with Song of Rest. We also gain level 3 spell slot on this level and our first level 3 spell. There are only 2 I really like here. If you don't already have a fear effect, the fear spell is great, hitting enemies in a cone. However, it does require concentration. Next, the Speak with Dead spell, fairly accessible through items. However, if you don't have it, I would pick it up now. Remember, you are always a talker, even if you had to kill them first. Level 10, and we gain 2 fantastic abilities on this level. Firstly, Counter Charm, granting you and your allies advantage on fear and charmed saving throws. Second, and more important though, is Extra Attack. Ugh, finally, level 10, so late, but we have arrived. Okay, level 11, close to the end now, and we are a level 7 bard, and we get 4th level spells. And there are some good ones. Greater Invisibility is my go-to here though. This invisibility isn't broken when you attack, and it grants you advantage on all attacks made while invisible. It also makes attacks against you roll with disadvantage. You stay invisible till you fail an increasingly difficult stealth check, but with our stealth checks at +11 right now, that will hopefully be quite a few turns. Finally, we have made it to level 12, and at level 12 we take our final level in Bard, ending as a Warlock 3, Rogue 1, Bard 8. And we get another 4th level spell here, and we are taking either Polymorph or Dimension Door. Finally, we get another feat, and I am taking the ability score increase here, bumping our charisma to 20 finally for a +5 on those impossible checks at the end of the game. Phew, this build has been so much fun to put together. I love the idea of an ultimate skill monkey who can play through most of the campaign solo if they so choose, surviving through their talent with wordplay and playing people off one another, climbing the ranks through wit rather than combat prowess. However, for those of you who want to squeeze a bit more damage out of the character, maybe you want to run with a full party and you already have another rogue, whatever your reason is, this is how I would go about it. Firstly, I would drop rogue. It's bringing a sneak attack die and some proficiencies, but at the cost of level 9 in a spellcasting class, which means no level 5 spells. Secondly, I would go for extra attack way sooner, focusing on Warlock over Bard. The breakdown would be something like this. Warlock, level 1 to 5 for your packed weapon, extra attack, and some invocations. Strongly consider Hold Person and Sleep for early combat encounters and get up close and personal to attack enemies for critical hits. On level 5, you gain level 3 spells, and Hunger of Hadar, Fireball, and Counterspell are all great options. Next, I would go my 3 levels in Bard for the subclass. This will grant you +2 to attack from the fighting style and the 3 flourishes, and 6 more spell slots, 4 level 1 and 2 level 2, along with 5 more spells. Song of Rest and Bardic Inspiration. Finally, I would go Warlock again from level 9 to 12, finishing level 3 Bard and level 9 Warlock, unlocking a single level 5 spell and several awesome invocations. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end, and let me know in the comments if you enjoyed the guide. It was a bit of a longer one, as I know this is the most requested of the guides on my channel thus far. If you did enjoy the content, here's another fun build for you to check out and maybe play. And until next time, see ya!